Welcome everyone to today's presentation on innovation and protecting your idea. I have two presenters to welcome today, Tanaga Boozer and Jerry Lorengo, who are both of the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Tanaga Boozer is a program advisor at the United States Patent and Trademark Office's Office of the Education and Outreach. She is responsible for the coordination and collaboration with external organizations, academic institutions, and agencies regarding intellectual property educational programs at the USPTO. She has over 16 years of intellectual property and technology transfer experience. And for the last few years, Ms. Boozer has served as a judge for the first Lego League Global Innovation Award presented by XPRIZE. Jerry Lorengo is the Director of Biotechnology and Organic Chemistry at the United States Patent and Trademark Office and an experienced first Lego League coach. Prior to becoming a director, he was a supervisory patent examiner at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn over the presentation for the webinar to today's experts.
Well, I think one of the things that we probably need to clear up is that the provisional really isn't a patent at all. Many of the students, and I've heard it at the Global Innovation in the judging round, the students believe they actually call it a patent application, but it is an application, but it never actually ends up becoming a patent. What it is an application that basically gets them started, that says, hey, I have this really cool idea that I'm very serious about, that I'm thinking about applying for a patent application, and it actually gives me a place in time where I can just kind of tell the patent office what I have, what it does, and show my intent, basically, of getting an actual patent. The provisional lasts 1 year. As soon as you file it electronically, you get a number. You're able to tell the world that you have a, in quotes, patent pending, and so the kids can kind of go out and talk about their innovations and get people all excited about whatever their invention is. If they're interested in moving forward with the actual patent application, then they would file what we call a non-provisional utility application. But the provisional is inexpensive. Many of the students file them. It's a great way to really get started and to get serious about your invention. Jerry, you want to add to that?
I think you kind of covered it there, and really I'm just going to follow up a little on the other side of how you get started. And really, anything you come up with, any idea, is something that's possible for being applied to get a patent. The one thing you want to do is whenever you have an idea is to really sketch it out, what it is, what you think it is, what you think it could do. Sometimes even just prototype it lets you think a little better, and then go out in the world and Google or any other search and try and see who's done something like it or something different, because you can get better ideas on, one, if your idea is new, maybe ideas on how to improve your idea, and that'll really inform whether or not you want to go forward with a real application.
What if in your process of researching your idea you do find that there is something that's a little bit similar out there? What kind of lens should you be using whether or not you need to go ahead and protect your idea?
That's a really tough one. I mean, a lot of it comes right down to, if you're really passionate about the idea, you're definitely going to find a way to push it forward. But when you find something that's really similar, that's actually should be giving you a little self-confidence, because you're not the first one to think of it. But that means if someone's already patented it, for example, it's obviously a good idea. But having that in mind is useful, because then you can modify it and see what can make it better, or how to make it more improved in one aspect or another, or maybe give you even a totally different idea based upon that. So if that happens, don't be discouraged. That's actually should be something that you look forward to finding someone who might have already done it. Don't let it discourage you. Just use it as kind of a stepping stone to move forward, because that's the whole point of the patent system. People get a monopoly for a certain amount of time, but when the monopoly's over, it goes to the public domain and allows people to build upon it.
If you can talk a little bit about what the reasons would be for if you go ahead and patent your idea. What are the top, maybe let's say top 3 reasons why you would need or want to do that?
You can go first, Tanaga.
So I would want to patent my idea because I would want it protected. I would like to, because one of the things that you want to be able to do is commercialize it. And I think getting a patent is a very good way of, making sure that you have that exclusivity so that you can actually perhaps get the attention of investors and people who might be interested in, helping you do what it is your invention, or helping you pay for the commercialization of your invention. So sometimes there are times when companies just won't jump on board to support you if you don't have that exclusive protection, the exclusive right to practice your invention. So I would say that's the primary reason, is to really make sure you're in a position to raise money if you have an invention that needs extraordinary resources.
Yeah, I think that's kind of all of them in one. I mean, the whole point of the patent system is to get people to disclose or to talk or to teach what their invention is. The government makes kind of a deal with you in exchange for your disclosure on how to make and use your invention. They give you an exclusive right to exclude others from making, using, or selling, or importing your invention in the United States if you actually get the patent. So it gives you room to have, like Tanaga said, a point for people to invest in, for you to maybe build an industry on, for maybe you to improve your invention and expand in other areas, with the deal that for a certain amount of time you have a monopoly, but at the end of that time your disclosure on your invention goes back to the public domain, so then it becomes owned by everybody.
What are the costs involved in protecting an idea? I know, Tanaga, you mentioned the provisional application was a lower cost, so can you talk us through what the costs associated are?
Sure. So let me just explain something before I talk about the actual fee. So at the Patent Office, we have three very different fee structures. We say we have a large entity fee, a small entity fee, and we have a micro entity fee. It means that large companies like IBM, they would pay 100% of the government fees that we charge. Small businesses, they only have to pay half of that. And if you're a micro entity, you pay only 25% of what a large entity would, so a significant discount. So if you qualify, and there are some requirements, there are some qualifications, and most children would qualify, I guess, if they didn't have more than 4 patent applications filed, and I think it's about $150,000 in income, something like that. Jerry, correct?
Yeah, and on our website there's a listing of all the fees and what they are, and actually the office, and Tanaga can speak to this also, has an inventor assistance center, and also we have a group that actually helps people kind of evaluate what they have and where they want to go, and what may be the best route for them to go in filing. So if you go to USPTO.gov, there's tons of information.
I believe the last time I checked, which was a couple days ago, the actual fee for filing the provisional, if you're a micro entity, is only about $65, and that's the government fee. That's not what the attorneys or the agents would charge you to write up the application, but just the government fees. I think it was $65, and I'm afraid to say that because our fees change all the time. But you can go to the link that Jerry was mentioning to just find out what it is today.
Is a team, would they be required to hire a patent attorney to go ahead and file for a patent?
Tanaga will speak a lot about this, but generally you do not have to have a patent attorney to file anything. You can go on your own, either as one inventor or a group of joint inventors, and they call that pro se, meaning your application, you're filing and prosecuting the application in your own right. But I would say that the process can be complicated, and there are many timing requirements and many things to be aware of. So I would say that if you have the resources and it's something serious, you should absolutely think about having a patent attorney help you out. How do you see that, Tanaga?
Oh, definitely. I mean, because I think if you can afford it, you definitely should do it. But if you can't afford it, then you should also go to not only our pro se assistance, but we also have a pro bono program. And in many states, there are attorneys that are willing to actually offer some assistance for free. I think there's also, Jerry, I don't know where that link is, but there's also a link on our website where you can actually find those attorneys in your area that may be willing to at least give the students, an hour time and, discuss what it would cost to file. But those specific attorneys, if you qualify for their programs in the different states, it should be free. So I don't know all of the rules and the requirements, but take a look at the site that the link that Jerry just posted, and you'll get more information about the pro bono program. So the PTO has lots of resources, and those two programs specifically are where you can get free help: Pro Se program, the pro bono program, and we also have assistance centers. One you can call in, the other you can call and visit. Actually, both of them you can call in or come into the office if you're here in the Washington area.
And to add to that, the other thing that I would say that we have heard from past teams who have gone down the road of working with patent attorneys as they have, tried to protect their ideas is that go ahead and ask any attorney that you know if they will donate all or some of the time, because what we have found is that the attorneys really genuinely like working with youth and with kids who are innovators. So just a shout out for that, and it never hurts to ask. Are there examples of a First Lego League team that has filed for a patent, and have they been approved? And if that does happen, if they do receive a patent, does the whole team become listed as inventors?
Oh, that's an outstanding question. So yes, there are, I think, a couple examples. The team Flying Monkeys, their patent issued recently, like probably in the last year or so, because I think they mentioned it at the last Global Innovation Awards. And there was another team, it just escapes me, but I'll have to think about it. But there have been two teams, Flying Monkeys and can't think of the other team, but they have actually had their patents granted or issued already. Does everyone get listed?
That's
So
correct.
that depends. That's an interesting question. So the only people who get listed on a patent application are the true inventors. And that's a little bit weird, and that's an academic exercise that I'm going to let Jerry explain inventorship. But it's truly only the inventors, not necessarily all of the students, and not necessarily the coach. So, Jerry, maybe you can explain and say what I'm trying not to say.
So I guess basically when you think about it, if you ever looked at a patent, and I don't know if you have, a patent is generally made up of a few pieces. There's all the writing, which we call a specification. That's like the written description. The drawings are often part of that. Then there are the claims, and the claims are always at the end. It usually says I claim or we claim, and they're numbered. And if you read those, they'll read very weird to you. And the reason is that the claims are written in a very legal format that actually claim and disclose exactly what legally the person is claiming as their invention. Often it's kind of a smaller, it's usually smaller in scope than everything that's disclosed in the application as a whole. The people who had anything to do invention-wise with what's in the claims have to be listed as inventors. The way you do that, and the rationale and the logic on who you add as inventors, that's definitely something that attorneys or someone can help you with, because it really depends. And you don't want to mess that up, because listing the inventors is very, very important.
How long it would usually take to prepare the materials for applying for a patent?
Oof, that really depends. It could be anything as just a few days, or it could take much longer depending on how far you search to evaluate your idea. Often you have to make sure you have the right forms involved and have the filing done correctly. I know many teams are able to file a provisional application during the season, so that happens a lot. So it really depends, but I think the provisional can be done relatively quickly, definitely within the length of the Lego League season.
Oh, definitely. I think that was the point of the provisional. It's supposed to be pretty, quick and easy. Yeah, it shouldn't take too long.
Another question comes from a coach who is outside the United States and wondered if you had any information on patents in other countries.
I don't necessarily. I don't know the procedures and statutes of the other countries. One thing for sure is a patent is only good within the jurisdiction, meaning the territory of that country. So the U.S. patent is only good here, an Israeli patent is only good in Israel, South Korean patent is only good in South Korea, etc. However, what I could say is that if you're interested in doing that and you're in another country, definitely check with your regional patent office and you can get some information. I don't know what jurisdiction they're in. Do you know?
No, she did not say.
And I guess another thing to add about the foreign filing, that tell them maybe to look into filing a PCT, a Patent Cooperative Treaty application, which it isn't a world patent of any sort, but it may help to expedite and consolidate some of this procedure if you want to file in multiple countries. But there is no world patent, but it is a way to try to, consolidate, expedite, how would you say it, Jerry? What would a PCT do for them?
Basically, it's kind of a common form in many countries where you file a specification, which is your description and your claims, and then you can designate other national offices that you want it to be concurrently filed in. But another thing, just in case it gets missed, is you do not have to be a U.S. citizen to file for a patent application in the United States. We have many, many foreign filers in the United States. So if you're worried about that, don't be.
Thank you. And Tanaga, can you just one more time, the PCP acronym, what does that stand for?
PCT, Patent Cooperative Treaty.
Thank you. And why would someone, this is a follow-up question, why would someone from another country wish to file a United States patent?
Generally, that's a good question, but generally, I'll ask, as far as I know it, it really depends. Often, you want to file for patent protection in a country where the market exists for the product or invention that you're trying to sell. That's usually important. So it really depends on what you're interested in. Often, a lot of innovation definitely comes out of the United States. Some countries are more focused on certain technologies, but generally the United States is a clearinghouse for many and many, and that's one reason why we have a lot of people who file in the United States, whether or not they're a U.S. citizen or a foreign national.
And what's really nice too about the U.S. is that you get some border protection. So if there are countries or people trying to import counterfeit goods, sometimes when you come up with a really cool invention, someone wants to create what they call a knockoff or a counterfeit product. And if it's coming through the United States borders, I think it's U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, they won't allow those goods to come through and to come to the United States. So there are additional protections that the United States will offer if you have a United States patent.
Putting back maybe, Jerry, your coach hat on, asks to give an overview of what protecting your idea should mean to an FLL team.
Protecting your idea, what it would mean to an FLL team is there's a couple things. One is that when you have a great idea and you actually go through the process of filing an application and eventually even possibly having it issued as a patent, that's a big deal. That is, we have many, many scientists and engineers here at the Patent Office, and their whole job is to evaluate whether or not what you've come up with is actually new and non-obvious in view of what's been known in the world before. So number one, that is a huge feather in your cap to actually have thought of something and followed it through to the point to come up with something no one in the world has yet ever done. So that's just the number one thing. Number two, by actually participating in the patent system, you're sharing your knowledge with the rest of the world. And the things you come up with something might be a great idea in a patent, people are coming up with similar ideas, and they're going to say, well, I can't do exactly what they did as a patent, so what can I do different? So that forces them to actually innovate as well, to come up with new and better ideas. So if you kind of think about it, every patent and every inventor stands upon the shoulders of the person before them, and they see farther and farther in the future, and that pushes forward everything we know. And it's just, it's a really big deal. That's why.
And I think, just to add to that, I think that going through the patent process and just being involved in this kind of competition is an unbelievable complement to all of the STEM subjects that the students take in school. Usually when you're going through school, you're just kind of taking science or biology or chemistry or whatever you're taking, and they appear to be just subjects. But this competition and this project, this program, helps to really get students to understand the value of STEM. You know, it's not just to, you know, science isn't just science. It really is about innovation. So, and going through the patent process, I think, helps to bring that to life in a very tangible way and an exciting way. So I think it's just a valuable exercise that students should experience sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and inventions are always the convergence of many sciences. And often inventions are the convergence of many technology. 3D printing, for example, is a convergence of inkjet printing, of adhesive bonding and molding, and of computer assisted design. So it's amazing how things happen, and no one thing can really happen without a whole lot of people working together. It's all about collaboration in the end.
So the next question we have is, can you discuss a specific example of a patent that an FLL team received?
Yep, I just actually posted a link to the Flying Monkeys patent.
Oh, good.
Can everybody see that? I don't know if they can pull up the link, but if you look at it, body forward, it was about, assisting. This team, the Flying Monkeys, had found a little girl who did not have fingers on one hand, and so they came up with a prosthetic device that would allow her to use many implements like a fork or a spoon or a pencil, and that was their idea. They prototyped it, worked with the actual person who needed to use it, and actually invented something that will enable this little girl to, communicate in writing like everybody else who's born able-bodied. So it was a hugely interesting thing.
And I guess that would lead to a question. I know because the Flying Monkeys did just receive their patent within the last year, and the body forward season was several years ago. So is that typical that the patent process takes that long?
It can be. It depends on your technology. Often, we are the clearinghouse for all U.S. patent applications in the United States, and currently we have over 500,000 pending. It depends on the technology. Some technologies have a greater backlog. Often it'll depend on what the invention is and how much back and forth between the office and the inventor and the attorney needs to happen. Often it goes through a series of, you'll file your application, it goes to the examiner, and the examiner will look at the claims and do a search and evaluate whether or not you have something that's novel and non-obvious. Often at first blush it isn't. The examiner will cite several references or pieces of technology that have been done before and explain under the statutes or the laws of the United States why your invention, as it's currently claimed and written, does not meet patentability, and they'll send that back with a report. And then often applicants will amend their claims. They'll either tighten them down, kind of narrow them a little bit, and then they'll try again saying, okay, we're responding to your rejection of our initial claims. Here we have changed our claims a little bit, and here's how we're arguing that they overcome the references or the technologies that the examiner gave them before. So often it's a back and forth, and that back and forth can take a couple of years, not because we're not working on it. Often it just takes a while for the inventors also to evaluate the examiner's opinion and then respond likely. So that's why it can take a little while.
So here's a new question, and this says, having not gone through the patent process before, how do you know when to apply for the patent? For example, what if you need help in building a prototype and you're not sure yet how it would work? Do you go to the outside source for manufacturing help prior to filing the patent or after filing?
Those are tough ones, and maybe Tanaga can answer some of that, but it really depends in every single case depending on what you're looking at. Tanaga, do you have anything for that?
So yeah, that's an interesting question because it's hard. One of the basic requirements of patentability is utility, that it actually has to work, right? But you don't have to prove that it works. So it's kind of weird. For some things, you probably can say, oh, I just know it'll work. You write it up and it works. But for other things, if you're not really sure that it works, I think you got to figure out whether it works or not. So sometimes a prototype might be necessary to make sure, to really test to be sure that it works. The Patent Office does not require a prototype, so you don't have to make sure it works, but if it doesn't work, that's a problem. if you're reasonably sure that it does work, then you can file it without having built the prototype. But again, that's just a slippery slope. You really got to figure out, you know, what you're comfortable with filing, whether or not you need the prototype for your own reasons and feelings about and confidence about whether or not it works. But the patent requirement is, or one of them is, that it has to have some utility. If it doesn't have utility and it doesn't work, then that's you're going to get a rejection from the patent examiner that this thing doesn't work.
Thanks, that was helpful. We have another question here that asks to talk a little bit more about the difference between a provisional application for a patent versus a non-provisional application for a patent, and why, as an FLL team, would you apply for one or the other?
Well, Tanaga talked about this earlier, but generally, if you think about it, a provisional application is a way to kind of mark a line in the sand or get your place in line to say, we have an idea for an invention, we're filing it on this day, so we're putting the world on notice that we have a provisional application in. The benefit is generally they are a little less formalistic, meaning that they don't generally require as many parts and in such specificity as a non-provisional application. That means they can be put together more quickly. Often, once a person or a group has put together a provisional application, they'll be doing some more development of their idea as they go forward. Provisional application gives you a year to actually file a non-provisional application claiming priority to that provisional application, so you get to keep your date. The trick, however, is that no matter what you file in your non-provisional application, it has to be able to be supported by what you disclosed or what you filed in your non-provisional application. Therefore, though a non-provisional is faster and has less requirements, it's often in your best interest to have as much in there and have as solid of an idea as possible before you actually file it. Because remembering that if you file a non-provisional to claim the priority of the provisional, if there's something you've come up with that is new that wasn't in the provisional and can't be supported in that provisional, you're going to possibly not have your date. So those are some things to think about. And again, a little bit of research on the website will explain these things, our USPTO.gov. Talking to an attorney often is very helpful too. And I would absolutely, just maybe email other FLL teams that have gone through the process, like the Flying Monkey. Anything you want to add to that, Tanaga?
No, I think that was perfect.
So another question is about how you search for how original your idea is. Is just go ahead and Googling if your idea has been done by anyone. Is that enough? Would a Google search tell you if it was original or not, or where else would you need to look?
You would search in a lot of places. We live in a time, luckily, where there are things like Google. But there are also areas on the USPTO.gov website where you can search all the USPTO patents using our database and our search tools, which is kind of a bit of a watered-down version of what examiners use. So you want to look wherever you can and get whatever ideas you can of what has been out there. And be sure to think outside the box. Often you'll think about maybe making a device for a specific use, but there might be a very similar device for an entirely different use. But it won't matter a whole lot if your device is just being claimed as a device, because often we don't care a whole lot about what it's used for. We're really looking what it structurally is. So you want to think about that too.
I also have another. Yeah. I have another resource, a PTO resource. We have what we call PTRCs, Patent and Trademark Resource Centers, and we have about 50 of them located around the country. Generally, I think they're located at university libraries, but some public libraries. If you happen to be in a city that has a PTRC, and you go to the website and just put in the search box PTRC, Patent and Trademark Resource Center, you will be able to find one there. And Jerry mentioned that the USPTO.gov website has a watered-down version of the search tool that the examiners use. But if you go to the PTRCs, they actually use EAST. They actually have the same system that the examiners use. And sometimes those librarians are very, very helpful, and they can actually help you conduct your patent search. So that's a wonderful resource if you're located. If you're near the Washington area, we have two of them. One is at Howard University in the Founders Library, and I think the other one is at University of Maryland College Park.
And you can also go right to the campus, too.
Yeah, and if you're in Atlanta, I know Georgia Tech has a phenomenal PTRC as well. So,
and there's one in every state. Typically, are at land-grant universities, like in Reno, where I went. It's in Reno at the University of Nevada. There's one in Montana. Most states have one or many, or multiple, I mean.
Is there any age limits around applying for a patent? And if you know who the youngest person was to ever receive a patent?
I don't think there are age limits. The person just has to be able to be an inventor. So I guess you could think practically, there must be some age at which you might not have enough ability to do that, but I don't think there is. It's you know, as young as possible or as old as possible. That's the thing about patents. We don't care about age, we care about ideas. But I mean, I don't know, what's the youngest inventor?
No, I don't think there's an age. I know there's not an age limit, but the youngest person that I know personally, I think, was 7 years old. She won a Florida competition. She's actually highlighted on our USPTO.gov kids page, USPTO.gov/kids. That's a wonderful resource, by the way, for all of the students that are listening and the coaches. Her name was Marissa String. I think she won an invention competition at the age of 7. She has a patent, a trademark, and a business. So that's the youngest person that I know and have met personally, but there may, in fact, be someone that's younger than that.
But there are many very famous people, like George Westinghouse, who invented the rotary steam engine. He was only 19. Philo Farnsworth, television, he was only 14. The windsurfing was invented by a 12-year-old. There are bubble gum, invented by Horatio Adams. He's only a teenager. So popsicles were invented by 11-year-olds. So there's lots of ways to do this. And like I said, we don't care about age, we just care about ideas.
Tanaga, are you sending the link for the kids page, did you say?
I certainly am.
Fantastic.
I certainly am.
Thank you. Do you hire a lot of technical experts like engineers or scientists? And so can you maybe talk a little bit about, I think this person must be inspired and fascinated by each of you working there. So what type of career opportunities are available to First Lego League teams at the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office down the road?
So if you think about it, you know, in order to be able to evaluate these inventions across every technology in existence, you have to have a lot of smart people to do it. And we hire scientists and engineers, and actually we even hire artists in our design patent area. Basically, to become a U.S. patent examiner, you have to have a technical degree, undergraduate degree, or the equivalent thereof, and I'm pretty sure it's an undergraduate. But we hire, like in my area where I grew up, grew up in chemical and materials engineering, so we had chemical engineers, material scientists, chemists, physicists, software engineers. Anybody you can think of can come to the office and become an examiner. There are many, many things that you can do here. You can be an examiner, you can be a supervisor. The office actually sent me to law school, and I got my law degree there. You can do amazing things like Tanaga does in outreach, actually kind of inspiring the next generation of inventors, and that's really what her job is. You know, you can become an amazing patent attorney on the outside after you're an examiner here. I mean, the world is your oyster, and really focusing on STEM is really important. And you know, we are as we like to say, the America's Innovation Agency. We've been doing this since 1791, and the first patent examiner was Thomas Jefferson. So, kind of a big deal. Tanaga, you have anything to add to that?
No. I think you did it. You know, having a really good technical background is perfect for what we do.
That's exciting. And just to close, I think I would like to ask first Jerry and then Tanaga if you could leave our teams with any words of wisdom to help inspire them to make wonderful, innovative solutions this season. What would you say?
Sure. I would say, number one, don't pay too much attention about how something has been done in the past or what anybody says how it should be done. Sometimes ignorance is a good thing. Not knowing what the perceived limits are actually can open you up to ideas that no one else would have bothered to think about. You know, work together, ask questions, bounce your ideas off each other. There's no limit to what you can do. The only limit to what you can do is going to be not to have a very big imagination.
Yeah, and I think my comment would be similar. I think I'm a big dreamer. I dream dreams all the time. I create things all the time. Many of them I don't go anywhere, but it's just exciting having this kind of real big imagination. And I think when people hear and see about the things that you dream about, that you're passionate about, that's kind of infectious. So just whatever it is, just have a real big imagination and put a lot of energy and passion into what you're doing. If you have a great story behind the things that you're creating and you're excited about it, then it's inspiring to other people. And I think just by being a judge, one of the most exciting things that I think that I see when I'm judging is that when the kids are just passionate about it, they believe in it, they're excited, and it's really something that they just thought about, and they have this big imagination. They didn't necessarily think it was possible when they got started, but just having a certain level of passion and excitement about the things that you just dreamed up, that you thought of one day. So just be inspired to just kind of go with it. Don't let people tell you that you can't do it, because, you know, we're depending on you guys to recreate the new world, tomorrow's world. And I don't think tomorrow's world looks like today's world. So being creative will actually get us a step closer to creating what tomorrow looks like.
And I just want to add one more thing. This is just for the coaches and the teams out there. For the teams, all I would say is listen to your coaches and work together and be patient and realize that sometimes someone's not going to be as good as something that you are, and often someone's going to be better at something than you are yourself. So be patient and share and learn. And to the coaches, it's always a lot of work herding the cats, but in the end, you just get out of the way and let the kids create, and it just works out. So have a great season, everybody.
Well, thank you. I want to just express my thanks to both Jerry and Tanaga for all of the wisdom and resources that you were able to bring to us today. And thanks also to our audience and any coaches or teams that may be watching this recording. And then finally, I wanted to take a moment. Always, we thank our global sponsors who support the First Lego League program and all of the teams around the world. And they include 3M, National Instruments, Rockwell Automation, and of course, Lego. So thank you again, Jerry and Tanaga, for the wonderful discussion and all of the answers to these questions and insights. And thank you to our coaches and teams. And I wish everybody the best of luck and to have a fantastic Trash Trek season. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thanks for having us. Bye-bye.